It's an unbelievable story. No, it's an amazing story. We're running late, but this story is worth it. What happened was, there was a builder in Playback who was doing financially well. And what happened was, his vehicle kept breaking down, so he decided to buy himself a better one. And he needed it because he needs to get to work. It's unbelievable story. Anyway, listen to this story. This is an amazing story. What happened was, his wife said, if you get a new vehicle, everybody will get jealous. He went to Van Leib. And he said to Van Leib, I'm scared to get a new vehicle. Imagine Playback having a car altogether is quite unique. So having a new one. So he said to him, tell me, do you know Shas off by heart? He says, no. One Masechta off by heart? No. One Perek off by heart? No. So if that's the case, you can tell your wife there's absolutely nothing that anybody will ever get jealous of you about.
I think you've said that before.
I don't know if that's it. And then he came back to me a few months later. He said he'd learned one Perek of Shas off by heart. No. We're running really late. We're up to Daf Ein Tes Amud Aleph, top line. We're doing a stira between a Mishnah here and a Mishnah in Talis. In our Mishnah, we're discussing two people. They have a chotzer. In between the chotzer, there's a ditch. What's the halacha if the ditch is a big ditch? What's the halacha? You can't make an event. If it's a deep one, you can't make the event together. And the Mishnah says that if you put inside straw and off on these things, automatically the ditch is filled. If you fill it with straw, not straw. Pebbles and earth, then it's completely filled. And then what's the halacha? You can do an erev together. You do an erev together. But when it came to Taras, when a man is nifta, a dead body in the house, and the house is filled with offer and pebbles, what's the halacha? We said only if you intend to leave it there. If you do not intend to leave it there, so then the offer is not there, and therefore it's considered as if there's air gaps. So the Gemara asks a stira between our Mishnah and the Mishnah in Taras. We're up to the teretz of here. Top of our testament. The Mog is a few answers. Man Tana always Rabbi Yosi. That indeed is a machlikas tanoi, and one Tana says one thing, and one Tana says the other. Rashi points out, and Tosfos agrees with him, that there's no reason to say it's Rabbi Yosi because we have nowhere to say that Rabbi Yosi says it. Only because he knew that Rabbi Yosi talks in that period, he said, we start with that Mishnah as Rabbi Yosi. Fade more. Rabbi Yosi is not around. The Tanya. Rabbi Yosi met heaven. Oh, there's a difference between heaven and offer. Heaven is that kind of straw, and offer is a kind of soil. Now, which one do you say that if you put it somewhere, it's more likely to be left? Offer. Very good. Offer is more permanent. So Rabbi Yosi makes the following distinction. Heaven, when you decide to leave it, is like offer without thinking about it. Offer, when you decide that you're going to move it, is like heaven when you're not thinking about it. It's a bit of a tricky thing. Heaven, when you decide that you're going to leave it, is like offer when you haven't decided one way or another. Offer, when you've decided to move it, is like heaven. Let's see the words inside. We're not planning to move it. It's like stam offer, like normal offer. Or bottle. Offer that you're planning to move it. Below bottle. So we see that Yosi says that you need to have one, otherwise it doesn't work. Sorry, the Yosi says even without kavana, offer is bottle. So this is the first test of the Gemara, that indeed there's a stira. Does one need to have intention to leave it or not? And the Gemara's maskana at this stage is it's a machlokas tanoi. One Tana holds you don't need to have intention, one Tana holds you do need to have intention. But one way of Tumah Shabbos comments, can you compare Tumah to Shabbos? What's Tumah? Tumah is a dead body which you filled the house, you hoarded with the straw. Shabbos is when you're filling up a ditch. Or why? He says you can't compare. Why can't you compare? He explains. Hanach is a Shabbos. The halacha is that muktzah is not allowed to be moved on Shabbos. So things on Shabbos are not moved as much. So therefore, when you've got a dead body in the house and you fill it up with heaven or offer, so then we need to decide: are you planning to leave it there? You're not planning to leave it there. When it comes to Shabbos, everybody knows you're planning to leave it there. Why are you planning to leave it there? Because on Shabbos, who's going to start moving around bales of straw and piles of earth? Nobody ever moves that around. So therefore, on Shabbos, it's automatically considered mavot. Something says to on Shabbos, we don't need intention. Automatically, it's considered filled. In Tumah, it's not automatically considered filled. What's the difference? Because by Shabbos, you're not planning to move things around. Oh, so that is a good shaila. What happens if you plan to move it on Sunday? But my Musa should hold that since for Shabbos alone, it's going to be stuck there, so therefore it's considered as if it's done. That's you're planning to move it today. Finally, the Gemara gives one third answer. It's meant to be filled in. Or you meant to fill in the houses? The Gemara gives three answers. Let's get this clear, Moshe. If you wake you up 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll have to remember this. Of course you will. What's the question? I once read, I like reading history, before the 6-Day War, they told all the Israeli pilots exactly where all the air bases in Egypt are. And they would wake them up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Each one had a mission of which airfields they had to bomb. They wake them up at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, what is the degree, latitude, longitude that you need to get to? And they do this a few times. What's the coordinates? Why? Because they wanted to make sure that they knew it backwards. So I wake up at 4 o'clock and you'll tell me three answers.
Anywhere in Eiruvin.
No, three answers on this question. Question is, regarding a ditch, we said that it is considered filled without any intention to leave it. Regarding Tumah, only if you have intention to leave it, or offer. Without any intention is considered filled. Regarding a bias of Tumah, not. The Gemara gives three answers. The first answer is Machlikas Tanoim. You love that answer, Machlikas. The second answer is regarding Shabbos, you're not going to move things around. Because on Shabbos, everything is muktzah. So therefore, you're going to leave it. Regarding Tumah, you're going to move it. And the third answer is even more logical. When you've got a ditch, the normal thing to do with a ditch is to fill it up. But a house with a dead body, you don't usually fill it up with it. Usually you're taking things out of a house. So you can't compare Shabbos to a ditch. Those are the three answers the Gemara gives. Okay. Can't compare Shabbos to Tumah. What did I say? You can't compare Shabbos to Tumah. You can't compare ditch to thing. It's very good. It's very good. It's very good. Thank you for correcting me. So you need to have, you can't compare Shabbos to Tumah. Shabbos is either Machlikas Tanoim, or because on Shabbos you can move things around, or a ditch is only meant to fill it. Let's get the picture very clear. This is picture. You managed to upload it already?
Yes.
So this is picture. It's very simple. When you see the picture, Mamish makes it crystal clear. Picture Tov Samach Zayin. What happens is like this. If you've got a ditch between the two of us, can we make an Eruv together if the ditch is big? No. If we make a plank of wood 4 tefachim wide, so we can. If it's only 1 tefach wide, no, you can't. 1 tefach wide, no. 1 tefach wide, you can't access. How are you going to cross the ditch with 1 tefach wide? You're scared to fall off. Oh, so it depends how you put the plank of wood. If you put a plank of wood as a bridge, then it's no good. Because 1 tefach wide, who's going to cross such a bridge? But if you use the plank of wood to close up the gap of the ditch and to make the ditch which was 4 tefachim wide, let me just finish. To make the ditch which was 4 tefachim wide, to make it only 3 tefachim wide, so then it's okay. Look at the picture again. Look at the picture clearly. Look at the picture Tov Samach Hey compared to Tov Samach Zayin. In Tov Samach Hey, what happens is you've got a plank of wood going across. A plank of wood going across, it has to be 4 tefachim wide, because if it's not 4 tefachim wide, it's not walkable. But in Tov Samach Zayin, where you're putting the wood, pass it to Ben. If you're putting the wood just to cover part of the ditch, so it depends how you use a plank of wood.
Do we not? And we said at the bottom of the wall, make a plank. And depends if it's deep or not.
That's good. That's what we have to trace this. But here, when you're trying to cover over a ditch, if it's only 1 tefach wide, everybody agrees. Everybody would be too scared to cross it. Yeah. So get it clear. When you're using a plank of wood as a bridge, then it has to be 4 tefachim wide, otherwise nobody's going to cross it. But even the 4 tefachim wide is only 40 centimeters, right? But when you're putting the plank of wood long ways, and then what it does is it closes up the gap. Instead of 4 tefachim wide, it's only 3 tefachim wide. So then even if it's not 4 tefachim. Oh, very good. Let's see the more inside. Even if it's only 1 centimeter, as long as you made it less than 4 tefachim wide, the ditch, so now it's not considered a proper ditch, and therefore you're allowed to. It's not a mechid. So the next Gemara, the gilsa of the Gemara is very difficult. That means the language of the Gemara is very difficult. But there are 3 halachas. I'm going to say it outside if you look at the pictures. Look at picture Tov Samach Ches. In Tov Samach Ches, you've got 2 balconies, and what you need to do to be able to make an Eruv together, you have to have a wood going across. But in why?
It looks like it's like a
No.
look at the further balcony. It looks like it bridges. No, and it looks like it bridges.
I don't know. Tov Samach Ches. Now, in Tov Samach Tes says Vava, it will not work. In Tov Samach Tes, look at picture Tov Samach Tes. It will not work. Why will it not work to put the wood across? They're not in line. Since they're not in line, the wood will be crooked. A crooked bridge is no good. Similarly, we'll come to it in one moment. In Tov Ein Aleph, if you look in Tov Ein Aleph, what's the problem with Tov Ein Aleph?
They're not the same level.
Not the same level. In Tov Samach Ches, they're not parallel. In Tov Ein Aleph, they're parallel, but not the same height.
But Tov Ein Aleph does not make a difference how steep the gradient
In
is.
both of them, in both Tov Samach Ches and Tov Ein Aleph, if you look at Tov Ein Gimel or in Tov Ein Dalet, both of them, you should do this over the page. Okay, just put them up very quickly. If it's less than 3 tefachim, it's okay. That means
the gap.
No, the gap could be much bigger. The difference, that means if it's 3 tefachim higher, that's fine. More than 3 tefachim is no good. If it's 3 tefachim not in a line, that's no good. But less than 3 tefachim not in a line, it's okay. No, I'm not catching you.
If they're on the same level,
Right.
the plank of wood is
4 tefachim wide, so that's considered an entrance way.
wide, not
Again,
it's going to be wide.
that's always, a plank of wood has to be always 4 tefachim wide, otherwise it's not 4 tefachim wide, it doesn't work. But we just said that plank of wood works. The Gemara says 3 halachas. 1, they have to be aligned, parallel. Halacha number 2, they have to be the same height. Halacha number 3, if they're not aligned or they're not the same height, but it's less than 3 tefachim, we disregard it. It's okay.
Difference in how aligned they are and how.
That's right. If that's less than 3 tefachim, it's okay.
I understand. Even if one floor up, you wouldn't normally walk across anyway. No people live like that.
Why not?
Ladder.
What do you mean?
You won't walk along the little plank that's one floor up.
Because you're scared.
I wouldn't call that living, normal way of living.
It's entrance way. It's entrance way. If you need to get to your neighbor to borrow a packet of sugar, that's how you'll go there. How do you get there? I understand that nowadays we're more fearful, but in older days most bridges were like that. Most bridges do not have like nowadays with handles, health and safety regulations, and you have to have everything. They had this was a bridge. This was considered entrance. Let's see the words inside. Only if it's 3 tvachim. A slightly bent bridge is also good, as long as it's not more than 3 tvachim. If it's more than 3 tvachim, it is no good. So therefore, for example, let's say you've got a neighbor and there's a big ditch between the 2 of you. So then you have to put a plank 4 tvachim across in order to make an area between the 2 of you. If it's slightly on the slant, it doesn't matter. If it's more than 3 tvachim, that's a problem. New halach. Matt Bain, let's see the picture. You mind putting up the picture? Sorry. Matt Bain is picture Tov Samach Vov. It's actually, I had to put it up yesterday. And Tov Ein Hey as well. If you don't mind, Tolly, put up Tov Ein Vov at the same time. And then we'll finish for a long time. Tov Ein Hey and Tov Ein Vov. And then we've got a break for a long time. Tov Ein Hey and Tov Ein Vov. Then you got a break for a long time. Okay. Let's get going. Let's go. Mat ben shtei chatzeros, a pile of hay between 2 chatzeros. What would you say the halach is, Moshe? Pile of hay.
Between
2 chatzeros. What would you do?
according to what you said before, it's heaven.
No, we say hay is okay.
10 tvachim high. What would you say? Not necessarily, because here we're talking about before you've moved it and you've got this big pile of hay. We only said that when you put hay in a ditch and you have intention to leave it, it's as if you've blocked off the ditch. So here you've got a big pile of hay. It's like a wall. A wall. What's the halacha? You can only do 2 but not 1 together. You're allowed to let your animals eat from the pile of hay. Remember like this. Let's get this very clear. Oh, what's the problem if you eat it to nothingness?
Really, it's
And then you can't carry between the 2. You can't carry in your own.
Very good. Oh,
yeah, because it emerges as 2 together.
did you hear what just Ben said? If you're going to let the animals eat, There'll be no straw left. No straw. You won't be able to carry not from A to B, not anywhere. Oh, very good. The Gemara discusses all of this. Very good. Oh, this is. If the straw's gone lower than 10 tefachim, so now you don't have a wall. You have to make an eruv together, and you can't make two separate eruvin. Says the Gemara. This halacha that you're each allowed to help yourself to hay. You're not allowed to put inside your basket and give it to your animals, because if you take so much, then the hay will go down very quickly. And Rashi explains like this: animals don't usually eat that much. They nibble. If you start piling it into your baskets, before you know it, it'll be gone. Now, the problem over here is hay is muktzah. Yeah, but the mice that we're saying over here, that it's not likely to happen. If you put it into your basket, then it's okay.
It'll be dependent on how many animals there are.
The more does discuss it later. The Maisa, we'll talk about only the Rabbons of it, because in the Esa, it's only Gezeros, because the Maisa, we hold that it's okay since the Shabbos came in. It says more like this, an interesting halacha. I'll just say it outside of it. Are you allowed to take your cow to a field of grass and let it eat on Shabbos?
No.
What?
Is that before?
Right, you are allowed to. No, your field. Even if it's, you're even allowed to lead it to the food. Why? The Gemara says an interesting spot. Pulling grass is an issa deraisa koitza. Therefore, you would never come chas v'shalom to do the avera of feeding your animal by hand, because come. But let's say you've got a pile of straw which is only derabbanon, because it's muktzah. You're not allowed to lead your animal there. Why not allowed to lead the animal there? Because in your enthusiasm to feed it, and it's only derabbanon, you'll pick up the muktzah and feed it to him. It's one of the cases we have where we're more machmir by derabbanons than by deraisa. That means because grass, putting up grass or vegetables or cucumbers, whatever you're feeding the animal, is deraisa, therefore you're not going to do it. But because muktzah is only derabbanon, we're scared that you'll pick it up and feed the animal. So therefore, this is one of the cases where we're more machmir by derabbanon or deraisa. We had actually another one very similar, very recently, not yesterday, a couple of days ago. That was just mokim patur between the shusach and the shusarabim is permitted, but between two derabbanons is forbidden. Okay, sometimes more machmir. Says the Gemara over here, Avunda said you're not allowed to fill up your basket, which is mashma, that what you are allowed to do is lead your animal to it. Now, how can you lead your animal to it? If you lead your animal to it, you'll get very enthusiastic to feed it. Once you get enthusiastic to eat it, you'll pick up the straw and give it to him, and you'll be metaltal muktzah. So what was Avunda mean? Says the Gemara this. Are you allowed to stand your animal and feed it? You're allowed to let your animal pull it and make it stand by your grass on Shabbos. We're not chayshish, you'll be over on Koitza. We're not gabe muktzah. And says, of course, you're not allowed to lead your animal to eat something which is muktzah on Shabbos. Why? Because if you do, you'll come to, by mistake, pick up muktzah. What you're allowed to is crowd it in. Let's say you've got a cow and you've got some muktzah you wanted to eat. So what you could do is stand in front of it until it's forced to walk in the direction of the muktzah, and they'll end up eating it. But you're not allowed to take your animal into front of muktzah. You're allowed to stand in a way that will cause the animal to move there, but not to pull him there, because if you do, you'll come to carry muktzah. No, it's mashma, even nudging it is forbidden. You're just allowed to stand in its way till he gets. Says more. Here we have a picture. It's a picture. It's kedai to see the picture inside. I hope it's been uploaded already. It's Tov Samach Zayin. Tov Ein Zayin. Tov Ein Vov. Tov Ein Vov. Let's talk about it a little bit. Actually, the others can also make a picture of it. What happened was, you have two chatzeros, two courtyards, and three houses. The middle house has got a wall down the middle made out of straw. And what happens is, we're going to discuss this brisa for some time. The brisa discusses the halachas regarding this particular setup. It says later to also about heaven. Well, Tanya Baish means the chatzero. He's got a house between two chatzeros with heaven. Marvin Shnai and Marvin Echot. What happens is you're allowed to make an eruv on one side of the house, another side of the house. Why? Because the wall in the middle splits the two chatzeros. And you're allowed to even feed your animal, and you're allowed to put into baskets. Not like what we just said before, they're not allowed to. You're allowed to, which is a kasha on Rav Huna that said you're not allowed to. If the wall disappears, you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to. So what should you do? So you close the door. Umavatel es reshusoi, and you mavatel your reshus, meaning you relinquish your reshus on the one half of the room, which has now lost its wall. And who also, the one who relinquishes is also v'chavei muta. Here we do a different story. You've got two people, me and Ben live 4,000 amas away from each other. Oh, we love stopped. We love fell out.
I moved away.
And what happened was we put food in a pit at exactly the 2,000 amas point. So half the pit I'm allowed to eat from, half he's allowed to, because the second half of the pit is past my 2,000 amas. And that means the further half of the pit is past is like 2,002 amas away from. And the other side of the pit he can't. The pit is exactly in the middle. Am I allowed to help myself from food from that hole? Halacha is yes. As long.
Do we not discuss? Do you say the whole pit is considered yours and the whole pit is considered mine?
No. This because it's not a walled house. We're discussing over here an open pit. What's the chiddush? The chiddush is we don't say that I'm going to take from his half, meaning that there's no wall in the middle. I'm going to help myself. Let's say it's a pit full of Smarties. So it's very easy to take Smarties from the other. It's very easy to take this from the other side. So therefore, that's the chiddush that you're allowed to. The Gemara will discuss later why is this a bigger chiddush from the straw, where we're allowing you to take straw, even though you're not allowed to take from the other side. You're giving your animals, and you might end up the animal taking from the other side. That's all see. That's because it's only Durabonons, therefore they thought that we're not going to be more machmir on the Durabon. Okay. It says like this. Essentially, Rashi translates the word goiv as a pit. Goiv short term, the pit of Teven. Tosis translates the word gabavo, which means a stubble of straw. Okay. So this price says clearly that you both allowed to put it in your basket. Why do they say not allowed to? It's like more Omi Baye is a house. Give me a tickle since it's got a roof. Meaning that when you've got a house, people notice the amount going down, and therefore not so concerned. Our Mishnah was talking about a wall between two gardens made out of straw, and people don't notice if it gets eaten up so quickly. But inside the house, it's like a room of a house, and the wall of the house made out of straw. People notice it more, and therefore we're not chayshish. We allow you to put it in the basket. We're not chayshish that it will go down. Says the Gemara. Now the Gemara is going to examine parts of this price. This might have teven ma'asot tvachim shnei ma'asot. That if the straw goes down more than 10 tvachim, they both are so. It says, well, ha'asot, if it's 10 tvachim, shori. V'avgav d'milia tukah tuva. Now we had this machlekas shvam no mechitza shemagrias l'tukah shvam mechitza. We had the machlekas earlier. If you've got a room and you've got a mechitza which only reaches half 10 tvachim high, is that considered a mechitza or not? You know, one of the big colors. Everybody loves Moshe Feinstein's big colors. What's the most famous one? It's probably Cholav Akum. He's also got a very, very big color. What's his other big color? That's right. Even though if I was to put a mechitza, this is more than 10 tvachim. If you wait a second, the problem is that mechitza. The problem there, you can watch women dancing. Maybe food to watch women dancing. He's talking about a shul. His psak is about a shul. But if you put a mechitza 10 tvachim, even though a mechitza of 10 tvachim, you can see a woman just as clearly, because at the end of the day, it's not. The answer is there's a halacha that has to be a mechitza. Once there's a mechitza, there's a mechitza. I look at the tshuva recently. I tell you, it's such a tshuva. Okay, we'll get to it. Yes, it's about a petition. It's about a petition.
So wedding is only because of dancing.
Yes.
Just women sat there, you'd be okay.
Yes. Moshe holds very strong of it. Very, very strong of it. Now,
Maybe in America,
you have to be careful. Moshe was a big priest. He can't. He wanted to change the halachas. But now, wait a second. The Gabi Shabbos. We discussed this. The Gabi Shabbos many times. If you've got a room, is that called the mechitza or not? It's not reaching the ceiling. It was machlekas amoroi. And here we have a brisa that talks about a house with a wall of straw. And what does the brisa say? If it goes down less than 10 tefachim, you've lost your wall. Mashma, if it's 10 tefachim high, it's okay. Is a raya that what? Even if it doesn't reach the ceiling, is a raya that mechitza 10 tefachim is good enough? We're talking about where the whole ceiling is 12.9. The ceiling is 12.9 tefachim. So the wall is 10. So then you've got lavud. So it's like that kind of mechitza where it reaches all the way till there, and the top is less than 3 tefachim. So therefore, it's 10 tvachim high wall and 2.9 gap. No, because we talk about where the whole ceiling is 13. So therefore, to be a mechitza to the ceiling, it's not mechitza. You can see the answer is it's 10.
You say you don't hold like with Moshe, you only have option is to go all the way to the ceiling minus that each one.
No. The order of Moshe, it has to be where you cannot see each other. It has to be the height of a human being. Okay. So we talk about the ceiling which is 10 tvachim high, Ein Testament base. The teven shiva mashu. The straw is 7 and a bit. The hopach is shloisha kolovotomi. We talk about the ceiling is 10, and the wall is 7.1. So since the wall is 7.1, the ceiling is 10. That doesn't work. Why? Because the Brisa itself will use the words 10. Went down from 10. And I want to do the Brisa says if it goes down from 10, it's no good. Answers no so. It went down from the halachas of 10, meaning that it was 7.1, and therefore the Lovo made it the halachas of 10. If it goes down further, it's taking away the halachas of 10, and therefore you no longer can rely on this mechitza. Right. Yeah, you can. The Gabi Shabbos, that's the Gabi Sukkah. The Gabi different Sukkah. That's the machlokes and morim we had. There's a shaila why the Gabi Shabbos it's a machlokes and the Gabi Sukkah we passed in Sukkah. It says the word like this: Shnei Masur. That if the wall falls down on Shabbos, they're both forbidden. Somebody asked, I think Shai asked yesterday. Shma minod yuna boin b'Shabbos asurin. It's a right that anything that happens on Shabbos becomes awesome. That means the Brisa says if the wall gets eaten up and on Shabbos the wall disappears, then now we're awesome. Is a right that if something happens on Shabbos, it's awesome. After it went away after being Hashmoshes. Oh, very good. Very good. No, we didn't. We had a machlokes. And it's more the Brisa doesn't mean that it got eaten on Shabbos. The Brisa says if it got eaten before Shabbos and now you don't have this wall anymore, then it's no good. That means no. The Brisa is saying to you like this: if you got a wall made out of straw, you have a wall. But be wary, because if it gets eaten before Shabbos, be careful, because then you won't have a wall for Shabbos and it will be no good. So the Brisa is telling you to be wary of. So the case had was the notice place of Vatal Rishus. Now we know we've had many times Bittul Rishus. How does Bittul Rishus work? Now let's say we all made an Erev together and I missed myself out. What do I have to do? I relinquish my Rishus. Do I need to lock my doors? No. So the question is over here. Why does it say needs case of waste and notice place of Vatal Rishus a tarti? You have to do both. So either you lock the door and that way you're showing that you're relinquishing. Or that is the shusay, according to the Meiri, it's either you show or you express it. But both is the same halacha. You either express it by saying, I'm a vata ma'ashus, or you by locking the door, or what you actually do is you say I'm a vata ma'ashus. What happens is we're talking about this person was used to carrying, because at the end of the day, till now, there was a wall. So he always carried into this room and out of this room. So in a case where a person is accustomed to carrying, then he has to lock the door. And here we have Machlokes Rashi Tosfos. Rashi says like this. I missed out the Tosfos I really wanted to talk about. I in Testament at the bottom of the page. But Tosfos says that the whole Machlokes, Mechitzas, Shmegitz from Mechitzas, is by Mechitzas Arai, like made out of straw. When you've got a concrete wall, everybody agrees that mechitza of 10 is good enough. Okay, it's important to remember. So if we paskin that when there's a proper wall, then you don't, even if it's only 10 tefachim, it's fine. It's machlokes over here because it's about the temporary. Now over here, it says like this. If you look at the Tosfos Ibo is saying, I'm not going to go through the whole Tosfos, quite long Tosfos. Just could die to see the beginning of this, because Rashi says that what's the Gemara saying over here, that since you're used to walking around, if we don't lock the door, you'll forget that you've been Mavatal Rishus. And the halach is, if you remember, when a person does Bittul Rishus, what happens? He can't carry. So therefore, that person has to lock his door to make sure that he doesn't carry. So
He can't go out.
Oh, no, he can't carry out. He's staying in his house. He can't carry out. By locking the door, remember him not to carry out. It says this, less inside. For himself, Adin says Rashi, this is all quoting Rashi, says Rashi from this Gemara is a raya that whenever you do bittul reshus, you always have to lock your door. Hey, Tesvas, the Xastema. How is that going to be? What's he going to do? He'll never be able to get out of his house. And like you said, and it also says, Maisa Tesis goes on and on, and Tesis over here we're talking about a completely different case because we're talking about 3 houses where it was in this particular circumstance. If you look at the picture, what happened was there was a chotz on the outside, and there were 2 inner rooms, which the inner rooms relied on this wall of the straw. Therefore, you have to lock the door because you've got used to within the same house carrying, and now that house is missing a wall. If you look at the picture again, it's a house where the middle tough iron involved. What happens is now that the middle wall straw is gone, so you were used to being carrying in 1.5 rooms. Now the middle was gone. That middle room is forbidden. So therefore, that's why you need to lock the door. Whichever you do, need to lock the door. That's right. Let's go back.
Ordinarily, in a normal chotzer situation, you wouldn't have to.
That's right. Normal chotzer. That's what we passed. Who else? The chaver mutter. If you do bishul shus, your mutter and your friend is also, of course. The other one went and was mevatel to him. You can't do bittul and bittul again. Once you've done bittul once, that's right. Very good. If you say by that you're allowed to eat the straw, and we're not chayshish, you'll come to eat from the wrong straw. Why not this by Rabbi Tchumim? The chiddush by Rabbi Tchumim is a shittas Rabbi Akiva is that Rabbi Tchumim is minat. Therefore, even so, we're matter, and therefore, if you make a big pit of food, and half the pit is outside your tchum, you're allowed to eat from the pit which is next to you. New Mishnah. Now, till now, we had 4 Mishnayos about Eiruvin, window, doors, ditches, and a wall made out of straw. These were all defining the borders, defining the barriers. For the rest of the parak, we're discussing something completely different. Every Eruv Chatzeros, and Shutuf in my voice, has to work with food. And now we're going to talk about who has to provide the food, who has to own the food, what food you can use. We're discussing the food of Eruv Chatzeros. Keita b'shtat from the Movi. You'll put down the barrel. You say, I'm giving this barrel to everybody in the Movi. You pick it up, and somebody is koiner it. You know, if I want you to be koiner this cup, Chaim, for Ben, so I ask you, pick it up, and intention for Ben to be koiner it. And let's say you're my son. Can you pick it up? So it depends. If it's a big child or an Eved Ivri, but it is through his wife. Because his hand is like his hand. No. Oh. That's right. Now, I'll tell you an interesting thing is machlokes is above mitzvah. What's considered big and small? Is it by mitzvah age? Or is it Semech HaShulchan Aruch? And nowadays, our children usually, or Semech HaShulchan Aruch, so I make a day of that, because I feel my neighbors. And I can't give it to my children, or Semech HaShulchan Aruch. And I just say, interesting thing is that we will say to a child, Zah Cotton Godeliya. I saw the Chamfila says, what means Zah Cotton Godeliya? A child is always dependent on his parents. Gadlus is when a person has his own independent motivation in life. And what we say to a child is that now you did a mitzvah that your father did for you. What we want down for you is that you should build your own life to become a gadol. A true gadol is somebody who's not Tzrich Shulchan Aruch, that has found his own ability to find a connection to Hashem. Yeah, I mean, you can find anybody in your chotzer, but let's say you can't find anybody to be kind of it. Okay, that's it. Says the Gemara. So again, so you have to get somebody to pick it up and be zoichet for the whole chotzer, for the whole movi, actually, we're talking about. You have to lift it up a whole tefach. There's a big shayla in the Rishonim. What's his chiddush? Some say the chiddush is that you don't need to do 3 tefachim. Some say that the chiddush is that even less than tefach. But more in Kiddush, it talks about kinyonim, and how much the Gemara say you need to do for kinyonim 3 tefachim. It's interesting. If you hear the Gemara says only a tefach. So maybe the Ritva asks a kasha, why only a tefach? The Ritva says because it's the Rabbanon that will make it on a lighter kinyon. But so that's how you pass. Because you want to pick it up, you have to pick it up a tefach. Now, Omar Hanitati Mili Sabed Pumpatisa Amin. There's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that tells us that when the Gemara many times doesn't say a name of somebody. The Gemara just says Sabed Pumpatisa or Sabed Surah or Makshu Ale or Machachu Ale b'Ma'arava, and the Gemara there lists who these people are. The elders of Pumbedisa, says the Gemara in Sanhedrin, is Rabbi Yehuda. Now, the last statement we just had about picking up a tefach, Rabbi Yehuda said it. Once we mentioned something that Rabbi Yehuda said, we're going to tell us new halachas that Rabbi Yehuda said. So the Gemara says like this: One halacha he said was this halacha that shutuf boys. How much do you have to pick it up? A tefach. Idoch, I'll tell you another thing that Rabbi Yehuda told us. And the kaddish, when you make a kiddush, you have to drink a molei lugma. So if you look at the bottom Tosfos over here, Tosfos are each three cheshbon. That the Gemara in Yoma tells us that if you were to fill up your mouth with liquid, how much liquid can you get into your mouth? A look. That's quite a lot. A look is it's full. What did you say? A mug, you said. How much can you fit in your mouth? The Gemara says you can fit in your mouth more than a revius. One day I want to give a share that Rais has more than a revius. More than this. Now it says Tosfos, if that's the case, how can a kiddush cup work? A kiddush cup has only a revius, and here the Gemara says you have to drink a molei lugma. Answers Tosfos that we talk about much less. Here we mean, even though it says molei lugma plural, we mean molei lugma. It's the amount. If you were to push it all to one cheek, it would fill up. You could see the cheek protruding. It's over this, just over this. Now, when you make kiddush by the night and Shabbos morning, that is fine. Your big problem is going to be havdalah. I don't know what everybody does. It's a big problem because if you drink a molei lugma, do you make a bracha achrona or not? If you make a bracha achrona, you've got a shaila whether you drank enough to make a bracha achrona, because you've always got bracha no says it is, chazon says it's not. If you don't make a bracha achrona, maybe you're mechuyev. So the Mishavur says that really, what should you do? Drink a whole revius to be yotza. And that's why if you see people, or my doctor comes to Havdalah, they drink the entire cup. Like Kiddush and Shabbos and Friday night, Shabbos morning, they don't need to. But right, that's one very important halacha. Because you bench it, because you wash straight after. Because you do ala michyo, so you're okay. But by Havdalah, you have to drink the whole cup. It's a bit of a problem. No, yeah, you got to eat enough cake. If you make ala michyo, you're okay. Yeah, if you have a piece of cake, you're fine. If you have a cake after Havdalah, you're fine. Another thing is, the Shvur brings a machlokas. The Shvur brings a machlokas regarding molei lugma. If you can do it with a few people together by kiddush, so the common says about by kiddush. I don't think Abdullah says it. That if you have a few people together, if you drink a sip and somebody else drinks a sip, you can have molei lugma together. I have had it very hard. I've had it very hard to drink a whole cup of wine for $5.
Why?
Rashi holds you're supposed to use wine. So I find it difficult. Anyway, I find it hard. So I was actually, a few weeks ago, I wanted to speak to Rob, and he was making Havdalah. I waited for him to make Havdalah, and I noticed he didn't drink, he only had like a third. I said to him, what's going on? He says me, I can't. I felt so good. No, because I 80% of the time I do it. Okay. I have to tell you, getting off the point, Yehuda Steinberg told me that he never had a son for many years, unfortunately. Anyway, I was struggling, and he wrote to Chaim Knesset, said to him, drink wine for $5, and he had a baby boy. Yeah, he had about a year ago. Yes. No, and also after many. Okay, okay, right. Okay, we'll get to good point. Okay, well, let's go after got married now because. Omar of Chaviva, Honami Sabit Budisa. There's another statement from Sabit Budisa. What's the other statement? Allowed to light a fire for somebody who had a baby on Shabbos. How to make a fire on Shabbos. Some we know. Let's just finish off. Some we know they thought as follows: Lechaya for one who gave birth because she's worse than the ill person. And they thought only in the winter. And only for a woman who gave birth. If a person does bloodletting, when it's standing, the Gemara said, when it comes to coldness, you have to be very, very careful. So therefore, if somebody's had an operation, even if it's the middle of the summer, and he says to you, I'm cold, you can light him a fire because it's something. It's not dafka by not dafka when we give birth.
Nowadays, you put heating on.
Yeah. That's what you put the heating on. The same thing. Yes, you put the heating on. I remember I once had it. But I forgot, but I did something with my time switch wrong, and it wasn't like the bitter winter I went to the Shiloh, but it was quite chilly. I asked Einstein, he said, "Of course, you tell it good." But no, I asked it good, but
You don't have to tell it.
You gotta be
It's
careful.
there.
I
That is.
my parents asked the guy to switch on, he was a Jew.
I've had this. Yes, you have to be careful. Are you Jewish? Yes, this is like. Let's just do look at the top of 2 lines. Omar Meimam, Honami Sabbath this on. We know date. Rezu Ashera. What is an Ashera which is not allowed to have stam? How do you know? Oh, Moshe, you see a tree. You want to know if it's an Ashera tree or not. You want to know. What do? Omar Rav Koshekimin Shemin Oisa. If you see that the Galochim, the priests, guard it, top Peamudalef, but in time and they refuse to eat its fruit. It's a right. They obviously hold of it as being godly. That they use the wine, that means they use the fruit to make beer for the day of the Chag. They pass like Shmur. So this is the end of that sugi. We're going back now to tomorrow. We're going back to our halachas of how to be koina Eruv together. You have to know if you're running the man to the Beis Din, and you have to run right. Very good. Okay. After that.